Alright, welcome back to Nikolai's Comic Corner Classic, less known classic. This is number 3403, Doubleshot number 3297. Well, for this one in particular, we're discussing a Tomb Raider trade and the second trade for Velvet. First up for Tomb Raider is Tomb Raider Colossal Collection Volume 2, which collect issues 35 through 50. Along with issue 0 for the series, and Tomb Raider Journeys. Yeah, Tomb Raider Journeys was the follow-up series, this one. It was a 12-issue Max series. Of course, you have Dan Jurgens, Francis Menopode on the artwork here. You have really good creative teams here. Yeah, basically, here's your parts, basically, because basically this is, like I mentioned, it's issues 3550, Tomb Raider Origins, Tomb Raider Issue 0, Tomb Raider Half, Tomb Raider Journeys 1 to 12, Tomb Raider Empathy, Tomb Raider Takeover, Tomb Raider Nights, Tomb Raider Great Gervaux. This is basically the last time that Tomb Raider was published by Top Cow. Do not know why basically book ended for. I figure unlike Witchblade, this book published on time. You figure, oh, maybe that maybe the license ran out. It's possible, but this is one of the two companies I know of where there was a Tomb Raider comic published. Aside from this one, the only company that published Tomb Raider was Dark Horse. Except that was adapting from the reboot series that was really critically praised. The one that came out in 2015. Where the first year of the book was written by Gail Simone, and then the writer of the book was written by the actual writer of the video game. So we have, straight obviously 12 issues, obviously. So, first of 3 part called Black Legion, which is probably issue 35, 37. Black Stones is probably, I'm guessing at this, probably like 38, 39. Risen is issue 40. Spirit Walker is issues 41, 42. Bless you! Tower of Souls is probably 43, 44. Inner Demons is 45. The Gathering Storm is 46 and 48. Vendetta is, well, probably for Alpha Omega is probably the final issue of the book, and there's also Trip Up. So, one of the storylines they have here is basically where, because it's still set in the Witchblade universe, Witchblade herself does make a cameo in the book, in these issues, but we also have a story arc where she teams with the Magadana, a character debuted in the spin-off book, The Darkness. Teams with her for a few issues, runs through her old flame from the opening issues, which of course basically, like, she denies the fact he is him, and then they kind of go out their separate ways. And Journeys is basically more her going on a series of adventures, looking for more treasure. Arabian Nights obviously goes her basically Arabia. Great Treasure was probably like the final story. But that's kind of it here. The book is really good. And I do just recommend people just check it out because Top Cow did a really good job with Tomb Raider. It's a shame the book got canceled in 50 issues, and of course it continued obviously as Journeys. But Top Cow, like I said, did a great job. I'm guessing what probably happened was probably the license probably expired. That's probably what happened here. The license probably just expired. Not sure why. Maybe this is probably the writers just, well, but in the case of basically what I give the rating for the book, I give the book roughly 9 out of 10. Well, my final thoughts, the book is really good. And just check these two Colossal collections out. Published by Dark Horse Comics. I do not know how much they cost, but they probably cost so much. Okay, so next up we have is Velvet Volume 2, The Secret Lives of Dead Men. This collects issues 6 to 10 of the Velvet ongoing series. Velvet series written by Edward Baker, artwork by Steve Epting. Yeah, Velvet is the beautiful woman you see on the cover with the little mole on her face. Yeah. And there's no denying. This woman is drop dead gorgeous for a woman who is probably pushing 40. Yeah, but they mentioned like she was like a teenager in the 40s because I'm thinking that this is probably set in either the 60s or 70s, given which president of the United States pops up in the last issue of this book. My guess is probably the reason the book ended 15 issues is because Brubaker probably finished we want to do the book. So we start in Prague in 1956. Love the artwork here Steve Victor does, where they're in basically the headquarters and we'll have these series of murders. At one point, the French police tried to arrest her, and it would cut to 1973 London. So yeah, you could say that probably this book is set in the early 70s. Unlike in the first set of issues, where we do get a chance to see the main character butt naked, not the case in these issues. Not really, no. It's like maybe Epstein did that because to show the fact the woman is hot, to show off her gorgeous body. For a woman who was probably like about 40, because they mentioned she was a teenager in the 40s. So, because it's said 1973, this is a little over 20 years later, so I'm guessing she's probably hitting about 40-ish. I'd say about 38, 39. That's why she basically looks the way she does. Do I think she's over the age of 40? I don't know. They never say her age. And of course, she comes from an incident she had where she killed someone she slept with. And then she puts on this black outfit she wore from the cover, and she goes to look like a sex den. We even have two women making out with each other. It's basically it's an orgy happening here. Kids, do not ask what that is. Basically, it's something adults do. Now, all adults, some do it per se. Yes, some do, but not all of them. Because that would not all adults are into that. I would say a tiny fraction of them are. About a 0.1% are into it, but all of them. So, there's obviously smoking here because, of course, in comics you can get away with smoking, but you can't do it in movies and TV shows anymore because, health standards. So, yeah, so Vel was talking to this woman, and it cuts to looks like the London Tube. Yes, they referred to their version of the subway as the Tube. And then, of course, basically, she goes to this one place and takes out the guards, shoots them, but not kill them. And it's like, so apparently her real name is Templeton. You get in the car, I'll drive. Yeah. And then we see her where she's wearing this nice business outfit. Yeah. Now, as for why her hair is streaked white like that, is it dyed? No, not really. Could this be the woman's getting older? Possibly, but she's still gorgeous. But thing is, in the 50s, they showed in the flashback she still had this white streak in her hair. So, I'm guessing Steve Epstein basically gave her that as a nod to probably Rogue, who also has a white streak in her hair too. This maybe she's not even 40 yet. As for how Rogue is in the comics, it's never stated. The other kind of adult character, a couple of them, they actually their age. One is Spider-Man, who's presumed in his early 30s at this point. And Hawkeye, there was a joke he's 40. Yes. So, lots of espionage stuff. And before I continue here, here's a little fun fact of Brubaker. This is he's written all these really good spy stories. Did you know he's never written a James Bond comic book? No, he never has. You're like, really? He's never written James Bond? This book he writes these really cool spy stories. It's one of the things that basically made his Captain America run so successful. And yet he's never written James Bond. James Robinson has. But not Brubaker for some weird reason. Is there a rule only British writers? But yeah, Ben Percy's American. And yeah, we had Warren Ellis. Greg Pak wrote some James Bond comics. I know Ben Percy has James Robinson. but not Brubaker. Not sure the reason for it. So, yeah. Interrogation, of course, a flashback to presumably World War II. And, like, all the files, all the red car they have here. Oh, yeah, and then also the fact the director's held hostage by Velvet. Well, Templeton is her real name revealed. So then she hides the director in her trunk of her car. Yeah. And like, ooh, we have some handcuffs. Like, no, not really. The director is basically fine. He's perfectly fine. And of course, basically, since it's not Marvel, DC, Brubaker's allowed to drop F-bombs. Yes. She's like, I'm not effing around. Yes. Because if this was Marvel Comics, that would be censored. Because this is not Marvel Comics, this is Image. Image does not have censorship at all. Nope. Because Image comics are generally written for adults. Yes. Like, have you ever come across a kid comic published on Image? Not really, no. No comics written for kids. Because Image is more of an adult company. You probably think, do they publish sex comics? Not really, no. They do have comics where characters have sex, but is that the main thing of the comics per se? Is all the comics published? Not really, no. Rob Liefeld went on his podcast, one of the podcasts he did, where the reason why Image fell off when it did in the late 90s was because they were publishing these skimpy magazines. And he was not a fan of that, so he just politely left the company. At that point, he's back with the company now. He's perfectly fine. But at that point, he was not a fan of it at all. And get this, the only partner never to leave them or retire is Todd McFarlane. So then she's shot in the side, but don't worry, she lives. She punches the guy out. And then she just proceeds to open up a pitcher, will be a safe. And inside is a red telephone. Yep. Oh yeah, and of course they go back to the place called the Cornwall Institute. And they hunt down this one guy, and she just does her own thing. Now, you probably think, like, does she sleep with this guy? No, not really. Yeah, she's talking about her husband, codenamed Mockingbird. Basically, she's out to basically figure who killed her, who framed her husband. So yeah, despite the fact she's slept with various people throughout this comic, she is in fact married. Well, she probably was married. So yeah, they just smooth about, but they don't do anything per se. And then the French police try to arrest her for reasons. Love this cover here by Steve Epting. It's a gorgeous cover with the rain. It's a shame this guy is not working for Marvel anymore. Yeah, a lot of basically, like, Brubaker picks artists who don't work for Marvel anymore. It's like Image scooped up a lot of really good artists. Because the rumor of the reason why, and I've heard this from a couple of people, the reason why, because Marvel does not pay them what they should be paid. They basically pay some artists pennies. Like, they should be get paid more because they all this gorgeous artwork and they get paid barely anything at all. You're probably thinking, what about some artists who work with them, like Mark Bagley? I think the reason Mark Bagley still works with them because, well, Marvel has him under guarantee contract. And also the fact he probably gets royalties from all of the Ultimate Spider-Man stuff. And anything related to stuff he worked on. So he actually gets royalties. That's the reason why that's why we don't hear anything bad from him. You think, okay, what about Sarah Pacelli? I don't know much about Sarah Pacelli, aside from the fact she created Miles. I'm sure she's doing perfectly fine. Some artists basically probably do get some royalties, but how much you can pay for royalties is under lock and key. It's classified, so. Then she escapes the French police. And so punches one of them, and then she's attacked by a dog, but doesn't catch rabies. Try to be nice, but you made me her a dog, so you can F off. And then she proceeds to beat the crap out of these French police, and just goes to the village. Then she gets whacked in the back of the head. Yeah, restrainer. I think, like, yeah, it was like, someone to find Demon Lake. Oh, now I get it. That bastard wasn't totally full of crap. He really does have something, doesn't he? On you. Is that what we want to go, Paris? I don't talk about. Perry Dupree. And it's like, shut her up. And she gets knocked out. And she wakes up in the trunk of a car. Well. And then, of course, apparently, like, they were going to take her someplace, probably to shoot her dead. But turns out, basically, her escort all got killed. And then, of course, see you soon. And then we have an epilogue where, back in London, we have people getting shot by the guy who she broke out. And, well, director dies, and that's the book. Really, really good. Love Velvet. I give this book a 9 out of 10. But there's no denying the best thing about this book, aside from the storytelling, is the gorgeous artwork by Steve Epting. Him and his colorist do an excellent job with this book. And those of you curious, though, is this book basically... A lot of Image Comics nowadays are being offered adaptations for movies for Netflix. I have not heard anything from Brubaker, any of his adaptive movies. Mostly just Mark Millar. Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe to notifications. Next up, Can't Forget the World. Okay, next video. Bye.